The Ajayi family lived in a sprawling duplex in Lekki, Lagos. Madam Tinu was a career-driven woman who worked tirelessly to maintain the luxurious lifestyle she and her husband enjoyed. Her husband, Chief Daly, was a jovial businessman who enjoyed good food and long evenings of relaxation. However, the one thing that constantly disrupted their peace was the lack of a good cook in their household. Madam Tinu's culinary skills were limited to ordering takeout or supervising the cook's bland dishes. Enter Amaka, a bright-eyed young woman from Enugu, recommended by a mutual acquaintance. Amaka was humble and hardworking, but her hidden talent was her ability to cook dishes that could make even the sternest critic beg for seconds. On her first day in the Ajayi household, she set out to prepare a simple dinner of agusi soup and pounded yam. Chief Dele took one bite and leaned back in his chair. "Who cooked this?" he asked, his eyes wide. Madam Tinu smiled, assuming the praise was for her choice of hiring Amaka. "Our new maid," she said casually. From that day, Amaka became indispensable in the household. Not only was she an excellent cook, but her cheerful demeanor and willingness to help made her a favorite among the staff. However, as weeks turned into months, Madam Tinu began to notice subtle changes in Chief Dele. He started coming home earlier, asking for meals prepared by Amaka, and occasionally complimenting her cooking in front of guests. Amaka, unaware of the brewing tension, continued to focus on her work. She had no ambitions beyond earning enough money to support her siblings back in the village. But the seeds of jealousy were sown in Madam Tinu's heart. "She's just a maid," Madam Tinu would remind herself, but the nagging feeling of inadequacy lingered. One evening, Chief Dele returned home from a business trip and surprised everyone by bringing Amaka a gift, a beautiful Ankara fabric. "For the best cook in Lagos," he announced with a laugh. Madam Tinu's smile faltered. Why would her husband go out of his way to buy a gift for the maid? Rumors began spreading among the staff. The driver, Musa, and the housekeeper, Ngozi, whispered about the chief's growing fondness for Amaka. "Na so they start," Musa said, shaking his head. "First, na compliment. Next, na something else." Unbeknownst to Amaka, Chief Dele had started looking forward to their conversations in the kitchen. While Madam Tinu often dismissed his stories about work, Amaka listened attentively, laughing at his jokes and offering words of encouragement. Her innocence and charm reminded him of a simpler time, long before the pressures of wealth and status consumed his marriage. The turning point came during a family dinner party. Madam Tinu had instructed Amaka to prepare a feast for their guests. Amaka outdid herself, creating a spread of Nigerian delicacies that left everyone speechless. Chief Dele couldn't stop praising her efforts, and for the first time, Madam Tinu felt invisible at her own party. As the guests left, Chief Dele approached Amaka in the kitchen. "You've outdone yourself again," he said, his tone warm. Amaka smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir. I'm just doing my job." Madam Tinu watched from the doorway, her mind racing. It wasn't just the compliments or the gifts. It was the way her husband looked at Amaka, a look he hadn't given her in years. That night, Madam Tinu couldn't sleep. The house, usually filled with the sounds of their bustling household, seemed eerily quiet. Her thoughts kept racing, each one a knot of suspicion and insecurity. She replayed the events over and over in her mind, the smiles, the gestures, the way Chief Dele's eyes lingered on Amaka a little too long. She had worked hard to build their life together, but in that moment, it felt like it was all slipping away. The next day, she decided to confront her husband. As they sat at the dining table, sipping their morning coffee, Madam Tinu asked, "Dele, do you think Amaka is special?" Chief Dele, surprised by the question, looked up from his cup. "Special? What do you mean?" "I mean, does she mean something more to you than just a cook?" Tinu's voice was steady, but there was an edge to it now. Chief Dele frowned, confused. "Tinu, what are you talking about? Amaka is a good worker, yes, but she's just here to help us with the house. She's nothing more than that." But Tinu wasn't convinced. "You've been bringing her gifts. You've been spending more time with her. I can't help but feel left out." Her voice cracked a little, betraying her deeper feelings. Dele looked at his wife with a mixture of surprise and concern. He reached across the table and took her hand. "Tinu, I never meant to hurt you. Amaka is just someone I can talk to. She listens, and I think you know how hard it is for me to talk to you sometimes. It's not about her. it's about me." The words stung, but they also left Tinu thinking. Was this really just about him needing someone to listen? Or was there something more to his growing affection for Amaka? She spent the day reflecting on her marriage. Chief Deli was a good man, but she had always been so focused on her career and maintaining their lifestyle that she had neglected the emotional aspect of their relationship. Could it be that she had unknowingly created the space for Amaka to step in? The following days were tense. Tinu found herself watching Amaka more closely. At first, she noticed nothing out of the ordinary. Amaka was polite, respectful, and focused on her work. But the small things began to add up. The way Amaka would laugh at Chief Deli's jokes, the way she would always bring him his favorite dish with a smile, the way their conversations would linger just a little too long after dinner. One evening, as Amaka served dinner, Tinu decided to take a different approach. Instead of confronting her, she made an effort to engage. "Amaka, I've been meaning to ask you," Tinu began, her tone surprisingly gentle. "What do you do back in Enugu? I never really asked you much about your life." Amaka, caught off guard, smiled shyly. "I'm the eldest in my family. I send most of my earnings back home to help my siblings with school. It's tough, but I do it with all my heart." Tinu nodded, trying to mask her emotions. She was beginning to see Amaka not as a threat, but as a person with her own dreams and struggles. The more they talked, the more Tinu realized that her jealousy was rooted in her own feelings of neglect and insecurity. Later that night, as she lay in bed beside her husband, Tinu turned to him, her voice softer than it had been in days. "Deli, I think we need to talk. About us." Chief Deli turned to her, concern in his eyes. "What's on your mind, Tinu?" She took a deep breath. "I've been feeling disconnected from you. I know I've been busy, but I don't want to lose what we have. I don't want you to feel like you have to go looking elsewhere for attention. I've been neglecting us, and I need to do better." Deli looked at her, guilt flickering across his face. "I never meant to make you feel that way. I'm sorry. Let's fix this. Together." The conversation was a turning point for both of them. Tinu recognized that her insecurities had clouded her judgment, and Del understood the importance of being more present in their relationship. Over time, they made more effort to reconnect, scheduling date nights, spending quality time together, and communicating openly. As for Amaka, she continued to thrive in her role, but she sensed the change in the household dynamics. She remained dedicated to her work, but she also recognized the tension between Madame Tinu and Chief Deli. In the end, she realized that her place in the household was as a caretaker, not a competitor for affection. And in a way, her role in the family became a reminder to both Madame Tinu and Chief Deli of the importance of balance, both in work and in love. Though the tension had been diffused, the lesson learned was clear. A home built on love and understanding would always surpass one built on wealth and convenience. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and follow for more captivating African stories and unforgettable village tales. Your support helps us bring more exciting content to life. Join the journey today.